You've landed on planet 412. I'll be your captain of sorts as we navigate this strange, cryptid-filled world. Join me on the quest for truth, through the strange, mysterious, and supernatural. This is Planet 412. And welcome everybody to our supernatural town hall session, something that has become a regular quickly here on Planet 412. And as always, let's see it. Rye, let's unmute you. We have Rye Voss. We have
Hey,
Andrew
everyone.
Casey. Rye, of course, from Codex of Curiosities. We have the Sasquatchers, JC and Andrew here. Guys, thank you for being here as always.
Absolutely.
And, we have, the norm, our group talking about a specific kind of subject, which tonight we're going to tackle something that our Sasquatchers, our resident Sasquatchers have brought up. But there's something I wanted to address real quick. I've those of you that know me, there's a lot been going on. I just wanted to real quick give a shout out to everyone that has supported me, that has shown me love. Guys here on the screen with me have shown me love. There are people that have been showing, extreme bits of it. Josh Turner today showed me just beyond love and support. And I just wanted to thank him and his family for supporting me and showing me, that they care about everything that's going on with me. DJ Tyler, who's always in these live streams, sent me something, guys. It was really cool. I got something in the mail yesterday. I'm gonna throw that up here. I got this box, so it says GLD Marvel. It had a pouch in it, and obviously it's because of what's behind me. I have that Hulk thing behind me. So he sent me, which was so cool. Let me bring up my comments over here. He sent me this Hulk necklace, which was just beyond amazing, man. I just Tyler, I just you didn't have to do it, brother. Thank you so much. If everybody can see that, it is so cool. It is the Incredible Hulk. It is like a jeweled necklace. You didn't have to do that, man. He is such a good dude, man. I met Tyler at Josh Turner's second annual Dogman Encrypted conference. Him and his wife Sam, and they are just the best human beings, man. My wife has been saying lately how good all the people are in this community, and look at the group of guys that are on the screen with me. They are showing that they are just JC, just honestly some of my best friends on the planet, and everybody. Oh, and real quick before I get going anymore, Holly Mangum, Catherine Gay, and Larry Fisher. I don't know if Larry's here yet, but they have been helping out moderating, and those two beautiful ladies are here moderating. My wife Stacy's been helping out. But hello to everybody in the chat, and I'm not going to keep talking. I just wanted to thank everybody who's been there. My cousin Lexi Shaw, Caparana Shaw, has been an amazing support to me, and again, Josh Turner, thank you for today, and I love you guys, man, and I really appreciate everybody. So I will shut up with that, and with that, I will turn it over to you guys.
All right, so I'm going to go next here. So I just want to say that opening there, Matt, that you made up, that you developed there was sick, man. That was fantastic. I know the other guys were commenting on that too. I think that is, you're setting the bar. You're setting the bar, my friend. That looks fantastic.
I can't jump that high, man.
That's true. I've seen him try.
You guys are kicking butt. I got to get that background like Andrew has. You and JC, do that background. I got to get a green screen or use the what is it again, Andrew?
XSplit VCam.
Yeah.
That's what I got to get set up. I have not done that yet, but I did download it.
Awesome, awesome.
Yeah.
So how's everyone doing tonight? I see we got in the comments there, we're getting a lot of people coming in, so that's fantastic. So hi to everyone from me, and I'm just going to do a quick little housekeeping. And so Matt, and then why don't Andrew and JC tell us next? What do you guys have coming out this week?
At
Am I?
first,
No, you guys go ahead.
Go ahead, Andrew. No, I was saying, what are you guys having coming out this week? Like, what episodes? What are you releasing this week? So go ahead, whoever wants to go.
okay, I'll go. We have changed our release schedule up just a little bit. I was doing 2 releases a week, and for a couple of reasons, I'm scaling that back to 1 episode per week, and I'm putting it out on Mondays. The first reason being that, as great as it is to do 2 shows, and it feels like an accomplishment, the break in between, I don't feel it's enough time to kind of respect the guest. So, releasing a couple of episodes within just a few days of each other, I feel is not giving the topics enough time to breathe. So that was one of the reasons. And then the other reason, and it's a big one for us, is we're focusing on some other content. And so, Sasquatchers, we have the Sasquatchers film division that we're working on. We started with a documentary, and that is obviously about the Melonheads of Kirtland, Ohio, which can be found on our YouTube channel. But I'm already hard at work, and JC is as well, on the next documentary. And I'm head over heels into it. I'm buried in the sand on this. And so it's taking a lot of attention that I feel would be disrespectful to the guests if I was trying to still do 2 episodes plus this on top. So on Monday, we released an episode with her name is, we'll just go by her pen name of Arla Williams, and she is a Bigfoot experiencer. She has a book called My Life with the Hairy People, as well as a children's book called Respecting the Water. And it's awesome. She was recommended to us as a guest after we had already scheduled her, so she definitely has a following of people that enjoy her experiences and the stories that she tells. So if anybody is interested in checking that out, it dropped yesterday. It's on YouTube and wherever you can find your audio platforms for podcasts.
Awesome, Andrew.
I
Awesome, Andrew.
forgot
And
something,
oh,
Andrew.
was that the freaky?
I don't want to take credit for
The
so this is all JC's hard work, so I'll let him promote it.
well, it's work. I'm not gonna say it's hard. So every Thursday morning, Thursday at 12 p.m., we're releasing what's called Far Out Folklore, and we did an episode last week on the current from Slovenia. So if you haven't checked that one out, you definitely should. And this week's is actually pretty creepy. We're gonna be releasing 1 a week. Thursdays at 12 p.m. right now is the release schedule. That could change, I don't know, but I have about 43 planned episodes already, and I'm working a week behind on them. So make sure you check those out. They're pretty cool. They're short too. Like, they're gonna be between like 2 and 5 minutes, so it's not like gonna take your whole day or anything.
It's all digestible.
Awesome. And Matt, what do you got coming up?
Well, I just released a new narration just yesterday, late last night, and I have some more interviews coming up. I have a lot of editing, like I always seem to be saying that, but you guys understand that's definitely part of what we do here. I have a regular format, which is basically where you have me talking about a subject, and it's like how my first, I would say, 5 to 7 episodes went. You have something along the lines of, I don't know, just say Bigfoot, and you throw up pictures and whatnot up there. And thank you, Tyler. And we're going to have more of that. Those are going to be coming out more frequently. I haven't had those recently. Definitely some amazing interviews that are going to be coming up, and just going to keep pumping away, man. How about you, Rye?
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, you guys are busy. You guys are busy. Yeah, I have this Thursday, of course, all my YouTube videos are drop on Thursdays, and I have Cheryl Costa. She is a in-depth researcher, statistics all about UFOs. She's written over 50 books actually. She does one for each state. She compiles all the statistics and like goes in deep. Like we're talking temperature, date, time, everything. Just goes in deep with them all. And she's got quite a lot of experience, and she was with the Air Force as well, and she worked with Skunk Works just on the outside of Skunk Works, we'll say. So she's got some inside edges on that. So it's really that'll drop on Thursday. Sorry, my mic just got muted.
You're there. You never left.
Yeah, perfect. I accidentally hit my mute on my mic, but
what kind of
yeah,
mic
so
you using that, Rye?
I use a lovely Blue Yeti.
I
Those
thought
are
it looked
good.
like a Yeti.
Yes.
And how about you two? Because I need to get a good microphone, and I'm looking around. What about the two of you?
You don't want my mic. I have a I have a hand me down.
It works.
Five.
Wait, is that
five.
the dragon, the red dragon?
No. I'm deep into like I'm ready to invest and get a Rhodes. We did an episode.
That's what I'm
I
yelling.
guess it's been a while, but we talked to Bob Hicks and Brittany from Tales from the Dark podcast, and they were extremely helpful with finding equipment. And they sent me a link, and I'll share it with you guys. Rye, I'm not sure, being in Mexico, if it would be helpful for you or not, but I'll still send it your way. It's a link to get this equipment for basically like the minimum kind of payment. It's almost like leasing it to you, but they send it to you, and then you can just throw payments at them, and you get this really high end equipment right off the bat.
Never
just
paying them.
Right.
You know what,
Columbia House learned nothing.
I'm big on the road because, I for those who don't know, I do sports broadcasting. I call football games, and my equipment that I use is Rhodes. I have a Rodecaster Pro that I use on site. The radio station, everything set that up for me, and it's my equipment. I basically worked for it, but basically, the way things work when you call games is you can choose to put your money where you want, and I needed equipment, so I knew I'd be doing this. So the Rode is really good, and that's the microphone, ironically, Andrew, that I want to get. So yeah, please send it our way. And if Rye, you can't do that, brother, from Mexico, man, we could always help get it to you. So that's not a problem.
Yeah, we're gonna drug mule it down to you.
There we go. Shipping is the killer. Yeah, that's the worst. It's almost easier. It's almost cheaper just to fly down here and hand it to me and spend a week here and hang out. Invitation's open.
I like it.
All right. So so Andrew, this was your choice.
Yeah, it was. I thought it would be an interesting topic to tackle because there's so many different angles that you can take on it. So for anybody listening, if you didn't see the graphic that I threw together for the episode, we're going to talk about the Amityville Horror, and basically the premise being, is this true or was this a hoax? And in addition to that, we're able to then kind of analyze what happened before the Lutz family moved in and experienced what they experienced. And we can, take a look at the DeFeos and kind of the life that they had and the tragedy that birthed what the Lutzes experienced. And, for all of the Warren files out there, the Warrens got pretty heavily involved with the Amityville Horror. It was like one of their big notable cases that kind of put them on the map. So it falls into that atmosphere as well. And so I thought it would be just fun, considering our last show, we were able to all kind of, throw little pieces of knowledge together and have criticism to certain theories and stuff, and so I thought this is a perfect group of people to kind of analyze something that so many people know about, but specifically kind of because of the film franchise.
Cool.
And yeah, so the Amityville Horror.
I'm looking forward to it, and you know, our viewers, who's done any research in that, you know, with our viewers, let us know if you guys have looked into it as well. Like, you know, as we're talking, we're reading as well. So if you guys have some sort of comment you want to give, make sure you write it in.
Yeah, I was just gonna say for anybody here in the live stream in the chat, you want to throw something in there that you know about it. If you have any experience with it, please throw that in there. So jump on it, Andrew. Man, you are in charge, brother.
Okay. This is my first time emceeing, so bear with me, everybody. But I think, obviously, the logical starting point for the Amityville Horror is the DeFeo family. And if you only know of the Amityville Horror from the films, you might have seen some really over the top crazy stuff in the Amityville Horror Part 2. And here's an Easter egg for our dedicated listeners that know that we have a missing episode, and there's a reason that episode is missing. And some discussion about the Amityville Horror kind of lended to that chaos that told us, well, we got to remove this. So there's some really, really wild stuff, and that's addressing the origin of the DeFeo family. So if you're unaware, Ronnie Butch DeFeo, supposedly, I'm going to just right out of the gate, I'm throwing supposedly, allegedly, murdered his family. And so he's a mass killer, not a serial killer, because it was a one-time thing. And so that was 3 siblings and 2 parents. And then he cleaned himself up and then called the police and said that he found them like that, and that he was forced to do it by a mafia personnel. And the story kind of quickly falls apart after that, and he eventually just kind of takes credit. He did it. And one of the main things with Butch's story is that it's inconsistent and it changes all the time. And so that's one of the things that when he starts to talk about hearing spirits and voices are telling him to murder his family, people immediately pull apart as like, okay, well, this guy is definitely lying. His story changes very often. His inconsistencies prove that he's just guilty. And so he goes to trial, and they try to plead insanity because he believes that spirits convinced him to do this. And the prosecution actually has him labeled as like a dissociative disorder. And so, according to the prosecution, he wasn't crazy, but he just, for some reason, chemically in his head, he didn't see a problem with murdering his family. He gets 6 life sentences, and then he goes to jail. And then over the next, 40 years or so, his story, unfortunately, does change a lot. And that's something where people immediately will kind of add some credence to the fact that this guy just was a terrible killer. Some weird things about these murders. Okay, so he's
And passed
using
away in March 2021 in prison, unfortunately.
yeah. So that is kind of relatively topical. And so if anybody remembers from a couple of streams ago, I was talking about how when I was young and in middle school, I like every other teenager was kind of obsessed with this like macabre stuff, or found myself on websites watching like super crazy stuff that you shouldn't be watching as a person. I also got super into the Amityville Horror, like crazily obsessed with it. The website that I used to go to for research doesn't exist anymore. But this is another one of those things where I would stay at school so I could use school resources to actually look into this. And one of the things that I really remember is like I combed over the 911 call so many times as a teen that this 911 call convinced me, like absolutely, that this dude was legitimately possessed, and what transpired was out of this world. Now, it's easy to say that and not have any evidence. I implore you, anybody who's watching this, listening to this, you can go check for yourselves. I double checked today as some, doing some show prep. Those 911 calls are still transcribed. They still exist. You can find them. I had them pulled up on my other laptop, but I'm not using that one. So they're there. They're accessible. One of the other things, every single member of his family was murdered in their bed, and he used a 35, I believe.
Matt has just disappeared, so we're going to keep going. He should be back, but we're in this. Keep going, Andrew.
Matt, help us.
It's,
I'm looking up that 911 call. I'll be right back.
He's a 35, and here's where my novice knowledge about firearms comes into play. I want to say caliber. It's not like he was using like a 22 pistol or anything. And he's using an actual like hunting rifle that's very loud. And so this rifle is used. He starts upstairs, supposedly, gets the parents, heads down, gets the brothers and brother and two sisters. And the younger ones are like sharing a bedroom. So in order to get them, he's got to shoot one and then move over to the next one, shoot that one. There's no signs of struggle. There's no signs that anybody was aware this was occurring at all. So it's something right out of the gate, you would assume, okay, well, he drugged them. And so they're not cognizant of what's happening. And immediately you can go ahead and take a look that the talk screens showed that they had absolutely nothing in their systems. There was not a single thing. And eventually he even, in his ever-changing story, talks about giving them something to kind of sedate them. But factually speaking, and strictly like forensically, there's no evidence to suggest that actually occurred. This is also, mind you, a loud rifle in a very small town. It's off of Ocean Avenue. And I originally had this idea to do a like Ocean Avenue song parody with this, but then eventually I was wondering if that was actually in really poor taste. So I nixed that idea. And so none of the neighbors heard it. And this, like I said, this is just a very small town, Amityville. I can't remember. It translates to like happy community or small friendly community or something to that effect. And so nobody's ever aware of this until he himself makes the phone call and brings the police to look into it. So
which is, I find this crazy, like a hunting rifle within a house is like, a hunting rifle is loud. And yeah. And maybe he was using some sort of silencer or something. I don't know, like some sort of pillow wrapped in around it. I have no idea.
Forensically speaking, that it's said that no silencer was used as well. That's actually covered in the investigation, because it's so, wow, this is a 4-story house. And so if you can imagine, I mean, I know it's late at night and some people are deep sleepers, but that, to me, that's unexplained supernatural. And obviously correlation isn't causation, especially when we get into this realm of discussion. But that's also kind of why we're here. So that's the origin of this house, where
just 1 second, Matt, can you turn Burning Sands Exploration, her comment there, do you mind turning that on, like putting that up? And Andrew, can you respond to that?
I have to highlight it. I don't know that he was necessarily possessed. However, I don't think he did it alone. There were 2 calibers found. Yes, he was a drug addict. He hated his family. It was a very volatile. His father was incredibly abusive, and one of the prevailing theories is that there was a second shooter that was never found. And to me, that screams conspiratorial in the sense that if you ask me, I believe the second shooter was his sister Dawn. And that was what I was going to get into when we kind of started to pass this along to everybody. But I'll go ahead and lead with it. She was also
interesting.
Dawn was also very, very, very abused by their father. And they do kind of sensationalize that in the Amityville Horror 2, The Possession, the film. But there's a lot of the film suggests incest had occurred. And so she was also actually someone that was incredibly depressed and also volatile. And because DeFeo is the person who was arrested and the lone survivor, he kind of takes all of the heat on that. And
Andrew froze.
Andrew, he took the heat, and then what?
I'm sure
Andrew.
he'll be right back. And just so that everyone knows, so as we speak, I am downloading the
Download the 911 call. Yeah, we'll play that.
So
Definitely, we'll play that.
If I can't get that through the computer, what I'll do is I'll just play it through my phone and let everybody hear it. So
perfect.
Hopefully Andrew will be able to get back here in a second.
But yeah, so if you don't mind me, yeah. So if this was, if this was, possibly his sister, that could make sense of why they're able to, and I don't want to sound cold and callous saying this, but able to take out the whole family. With if the sister is doing it downstairs, he takes the two parents, and then her sister takes out one of the siblings, and they're able to get the other one. Like I said, I don't like saying it like that sounds callous. And then maybe it was a suicide pact where it's like you kill me and then I can go. I don't know. What do you guys think of that?
That isn't, I before I touch on that, before I forget, I just want to let you guys know, and I apologize, Rye.
No worries.
The house just sold for $1.5 million. Ironically, one of my best friends, his name is Frankie Fisher, lives in is that not New York for you? I mean, my brother is as New York as you can get. He grew up literally around the corner from the Amityville house. In fact, the first time that my wife Stacy and I went to visit the Fisher family, not related to Larry, we drove right by the Amityville house. And you want to talk about like kind of a creepy kind of feel that you get. And I hope Andrew's able, and he must be resetting his Wi-Fi. But yeah, JC, if you could check, brother, I'd appreciate it. It is a creepy place, and there he is. He's popping in. I'm going to bring him back in. There he is. Hey, Andrew, I just want to let you know, I just let everyone know the house just sold for $1.5 million. And I was just telling everybody, a friend of mine grew up right around the corner from there. I had seen the house in person, and I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not embellishing or anything. When we stopped in front of it, you got to kind of, shiver up your spine kind of feel. That situation, Rye, it's so odd what happened there. Who knows exactly what went down with it, but and you had a family, George and Kathy Lutz, that the three children that moved in, and they started having paranormal activity, and they were terrorized by a poltergeist there. So connecting the two together, yeah, there was some craziness, there was murders that happened there, but looking at the paranormal activity that occurred after they were gone makes you think, there could be some truth behind that. So I agree. Insanity, it does make you think though, why was it done by themselves? Was it just him possessed, or did he really murder these people? Andrew, you want to take up where you left off, brother?
Yeah, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm on like my lesser laptop now. I will point out, what's
We're
like is
losing
going to die in the
him.
middle of this kind of conversation.
Excuse
But
me, guys,
Yeah.
for a minute.
You're muted, Rye.
everybody,
Andrew, keep going, man. You're back on, but you're still having issues, Andrew, with yours. I don't know.
Yeah.
of course, we are having issues. Okay.
Yeah, we're talking about Amityville Horror,
Wow.
and we're talking about possession, and here we go.
Yeah, immediately I start to have issues. And so now I'm afraid that's going to continue to happen because I had to switch over to a lesser quality rig. But if everybody can hear me okay right now, I'll get back into. I think I dropped out when I was talking about how his sister Dawn, in my opinion, had been like terribly abused. And the theory that I had was that she was actually the shooter, and he turned the gun on her after everybody else was dead, and then he shot her, and then kind of had to deal with everything. That's kind of when I'm looking for a realistic answer. That's where I leaned on. And one of the interviews that he did from prison actually talks about that. But his story changed so often, it's hard to even pinpoint a certain story or confession that you can lean on because it does change so often. But the idea that the father had abused her, and so she was the murderer, and while they both were on some type of drug trip together, ended up working together, and then he turned the gun on her, and so there, then the stories of hearing voices and stuff then becomes sensationalized for his court hearings, trying to get insanity. But that's the origin of the murders in this house, and the backbone of what the Lutzes would eventually experience and talk about in the Amityville Horror.
But I think the question is did they actually experience something? Isn't that like where we start bringing into question kind of things?
Right.
Was it a marketing ploy? Was it a marketing stunt? I guess you could call it. What are you guys' thoughts on that? I know it was about 1 year later, the Lutzes took possession of the home in, was it 75, December 75?
Yeah,
And
correct.
yeah, and they ended up moving out in January 76. It wasn't too much. I thought it was like what, like 2 months and they're out?
Yeah, it was very fast.
Mm-hmm.
Which is crazy, unbelievable. They had some really crazy claims. They brought in a priest, correct, to do a blessing on the home, and the priest claimed that he heard in what used to be the parents' bedroom, "Get out." So, was there any of that being in question? Do you know any of the issues with that testimony of this priest, claiming this?
Well, what's interesting about that priest is, so not only did he experience disembodied voices telling him to get out, but I actually read that he also experienced stigmata, and he was bleeding from his hands, which when you look into this kind of stuff, that really elevates the type of situation that you're dealing with. So either you're dealing with something incredibly demonic occurring, or you're dealing with somebody who's very creative with the possible hoax that's occurring here. And so this is the 70s, and there's a lot of stuff in the media that is very similar to what the Lutz family are claiming in this book. So you have a priest that's against his will being brought into this situation, and so there's kind of you have The Exorcist. It takes place in Amityville, which in the 70s was a very hot spot due to Jaws being the biggest movie of all time. Let's see here. One of the other, there's some other correlations to like horror in the media.
I have a question. So when, who do you guys know when The Exorcist actually came out?
I want to say that it came out in 74.
Okay, because that would add credence, in my opinion. That would add credence to them embellishing this and creating this.
71.
71 riding off of The Exorcist. In my opinion, it's like it did well. But what I also understood though was Lutz, is it George? I can't remember his first name.
George Lutz, yeah.
Yeah, he was practicing in the occult. To what degree and to what exactly he was in, I'm not 100% sure, but I do know that there was practice in the occult, which can, we do know that, once you stir up a hornet's nest, there are things that can come out. So, could have these ghosts been tied with that family?
Yeah.
Or that?
Can you clear? I'm sorry, Ryan. Keep going.
Yeah, no. I'm good. Go ahead, JC.
No, I wanted to clear something up, and maybe it's just my misunderstanding, but there are apparently two priests involved here. There's Father Delaney, and there was Father Pecoraro, or aka Father Mancuso, which was listed in like some of the legal documents. Do you know what the difference between which priest was the one that experienced stigmata, which one? Because it says both of them had come to the house and investigated, but I can't seem to tell which one is which. Like they seem to be intermixed.
Oh, I don't know if I can answer that because
from the I think in the movie it's Father Delaney, right?
Yeah.
Now, did they just use the name Father Delaney? It's the same person? Am I misunderstanding?
I think that's kind of what occurred with the film, because even the films deviate from the books, and we have to immediately remove the remake right out of the gate, because the remake actually took a lot of liberties and admitted to making things up and changing things around. So it's even farther removed from the book.
Yes, yeah. Well, from what I can tell from the 1971 movie with Father Delaney, it was Father Delaney, but he seems to be in place of Father Pecoraro, who would have been the priest that came to visit. And just to add to this, that Father Pecoraro was transferred to a different diocese after he had finished his engagement at the house, and he was actually forbidden to practice certain rites within the Catholic Church after that.
Wow. That's crazy, and I'm glad you're able to say that, Father Pecoraro, because I
was looking at it for about 5 minutes before I said it to try to sound it out in my head.
I would not be able to do that. Yeah. So okay, so the Lutzes move in and they claim all these fantastical hauntings. Typical hauntings too. Beds levitating, people levitating, red glowing eyes, ooze coming out of walls and keyholes and doors.
It's Ghostbusters, man.
Yeah. That is right. Okay. Because
it's probably where it came from, right?
That's a great point, actually. Yes, because I guess there was. Let's not overlook ectoplasm. Ectoplasm has been around, for so long. When there's been seances and everything, they talk about ectoplasm for quite a while. So
that's fair.
As much as I'd like to say that would be, so there was that. What else? But this is the thing. They did. It's alleged that they made around $300,000 for selling the story to. I forget the book writer, but they sold it. Ronald J. DeFaro, was that it? Who wrote it? No. Sorry. That's the guy that actually did the killing. Who was the writer of? I'm like, yeah. Well, I guess it was based on him.
It was a self-biography.
Yeah, exactly.
The author, Jay Hansen. Yeah.
Okay, yes. So they sold the story to him, maybe help create the story. I know the Lutzes, they did claim that they embellished, but let's go to the one son, I believe Daniel Lutz. He to this day still claims that it was legit. He is still haunted by it, and he's still affected by this. It still, haunts his dreams. As much as some people might say it's embellished, there is someone coming forward after all these years. Now, is he doing it for clout, or is this legit?
I kind of want to know, like, so the house was built in 1929, right? And we don't have a story about this house until what, 57, when the DeForio thing happened. What happened in this house before then? Nothing, right? Probably, that we know of. So you have a good gap of like 30 some years there.
Well, it was claimed that this house was built on either sacred ground or a cemetery or something like
I've
that.
heard that, but I don't think there's any evidence for that, though, is there?
No, I have to agree with that too. It's a claim. It's a claim. And
I mean, there's other houses. They have neighbors. It's not like they live out in the middle of the woods, right? Like, you can look at it on Google Maps. There's neighbors and stuff.
Yeah.
At this house.
So they're not the only ones that would be built on the cemetery, but it's not the first time people have built on cemeteries.
And it's not. I mean, a lot of places are built. I mean, we've created garbage dumps on supposedly sacred land. I want to go back to Father Pecoraro just because I'm really proud of myself for saying his name. So I actually found the reason that, like, he wasn't defrocked. So defrocking in the Catholic Church, and I think some Anglican and Lutheran churches, is when a priest loses his ability to practice or say mass or liturgy. So it wasn't as far as he was defrocked, but he did lose the ability to perform certain rites like marriage, like exorcism, after he was transferred to a different parish. And it's claimed that DeFerraro, or better known as Delaney in the original movie, had never even stepped foot in the house, and that he had been part of the lie to cover up, and said that he had been to this house multiple times, experienced these things, but the church, when they investigated, couldn't substantiate any of it. And there was the claim was that he had made a phone call with the Lutzes and had advised them on a few spiritual matters concerning the house, and that was the extent of his involvement with the Amityville.
So not too much at all. Yeah, and it was Father Mancuso who developed a high fever and blisters on his hands, similar to a stigmata. So that was it. So he developed blisters.
That's the same guy.
Yeah, and like we said, like, the claims after, there were no hauntings after that. Sorry, guys, these dogs here are just going bananas. I don't know.
I just imagine that's what Mexico sounds like all the time.
Yeah, and mariachis and yeah, exactly. It's because of the full moon. I'm guessing it's because of the full moon and just everything is going crazy. But yeah. So there was no other haunting. So it was strictly set to this. But that being said, there were 5 murders in this house, and that's something not to overlook. That is a great trauma that is now, soaked into, I guess I don't want to be a pun, but it's kind of like
into the floorboards.
Yeah, soaked into this house. Like this trauma is now engrossed into this house, and I don't care who you are. Like I've had my fair share of hauntings, and nothing to that extreme where you've been into a house. Like there is definitely going to be a sorrow and a negative sink in that area,
for sure. I agree with that. That's why I was kind of questioning what happened in the house prior to that, those 30 some years before then. Like we don't know. There's no accounts, but were there other things going on in that house? I mean, 29 is pretty deep into the turn of the century there, So especially in this area of New York, there were a lot of industrial advances, people kind of starting to move outside the city into the suburbs, moving to the beach areas, and that, was this house built and there was trauma already involved in this building, or did that come with just those murders later on? Because if we're claiming that there was some kind of possession, and I'm not saying possession can't happen randomly, but you almost wonder, like, we have a 30-some year gap. Like, who even owned the house before? I know there's records.
JC, it's actually not, because Ronnie DeFeo killed his family in 1974. So it's actually very close to each other.
But the house was built in 1929.
Yes, but the murder took place in 74, I believe, right? Because
Yeah.
it was like a year later that it was occupied by the Lutzes.
Sure.
Very
Well,
fast.
I'm not even
Yeah.
talking about the Lutzes.
And the stepfather, George Lust. I was trying to get some things on the screen. I apologize that I was kind of sidetracked.
No
It
worries, no
wasn't
worries.
working. I think it's because there's 4 of us. I was having trouble. I don't know if you mentioned that the stepfather, George Lust, had a history of dabbling into a cult. Did you guys mention that?
Yeah.
I did.
He woke up every morning at 3:15, which is when the murders supposedly occurred. And then
Yeah.
just to let you guys know, right around the corner, we always talk about high strangeness being around water. The beach is literally 3 minutes from where that house is. So you have water from there. The Lutz family also claimed to smell strange odors, see green slime oozing out of the walls, keyholes, and experience cold spots in certain areas. You guys were talking about the priest saying, "Get out." Other paranormal activity, nearby garage door opening and closing, an invisible spirit knocking a knife down in the kitchen, a pig like creature with red eyes staring down at George and his son Daniel from a
That was
window.
just
Now
me.
that is horrifying.
Yeah, that pig
George
creature, that's a little scary.
waking up to wife Kathy levitating off their bed, sons Daniel and Christopher also levitating off their bed. Now, if those are all corroborated and true, I mean, again, you have events that are occurring that definitely can go into Mr. DeFeo possibly have being possessed. But again, you really need some deep proof of that. Um, Man, it's definitely a wild situation, but it definitely falls under that area of kind of you get the mythos, you have myth here, and there's always truth to myth. You know what I mean? Again, I have friends that grew up around the corner, and they said that they know they lived there their whole lives. In the 70s as well, they remember seeing the police cars there, the neighborhood talking about this, and people in the neighborhood, going by, seeing strange things happening through the house, people stopping. Obviously, can you imagine? I mean, think of it, you guys, having a house like that right around the corner from where you live. You would be going by regularly, paying attention, and there's quite a few people, according to my buddy who grew up there, saying seeing strange things in the windows, hearing strange noises on the property, seeing things, lights going on when no cars are there. Yeah, I don't know. It's a strong, kind of a situation for me that jumps into area of poltergeist. I find some credibility in that story.
Now,
Yeah.
poltergeist, I actually have a theory on poltergeist. I don't believe poltergeists are localized. I believe poltergeists are manifested by a person, a human person that is deeply affected, and this really happens actually, like, emotionally, has a lot of emotional issues, and this is very prevalent during puberty, and especially with girls. They will be able to manifest things happening, and it'll happen to a point, like, there won't be an entity. It'll be them actually creating this up until a point when it becomes so much energy, like, with focused on that, this entity, I mean, this thing becomes an actual entity. And that is how poltergeists, in my, we'll say, my research, and how poltergeists are formed. Now, at that point, then they're their own creation, their own kind of, it's kind of like a homunculus of sorts, like a ghost phantasmal homunculus, that's been created by a person.
Homunculus.
I am. But yeah, no, and so I actually, there was a lot of activity, and what's not to say that it's the family, like, there are ghosts that are location bound, and then there are ghosts or demons or spirits that are bound to people as well. Like I know who was talking about Brandy from Blondes and Booze, where she was saying she picked up a hitchhiker. Something jumped into her vehicle when she was driving.
Ooh.
And it has now kind of followed her home, and she's still trying to get rid of it. So that is
Oh,
not a
boy.
location bound entity. This is a entity that is kind of like a hitchhiker. So what's to say that these things weren't actually bound to the Lutzes, and when they actually went into this house that was full of all this negative energy, it's like a battery charger, supercharger for these ghosts, these demons, and it just like ramps it up. When they left, maybe these entities went with them still, but they lost all their mojo.
Right.
That. Go ahead, JC.
Drew.
Sorry.
How are you? I didn't. That's okay. I didn't want to skip over Skip's question. Skip. Because he said something which is not on the topic we're talking about, but I just want to address it real quick. The thing about the Vatican, my answer, and I'm going to juxtapose Andrew's answer here because he said absolutely. I'm saying no. I think the whole thing about the Vatican having all kinds of crazy stuff is super hyped up, and I think they just let it go because, hey, it's fun, right? Like, you guys keep believing that. What are we going to show you? It says artifacts are being withheld that can cause anarchy and chaos. Well, we have that already without them releasing those objects. So,
I do agree with you there, JC, but I will, with Andrew, at least say I truly believe that there are things that the Vatican has, proof of things that they do not let the general public know. That if the general public knew some of the things the Vatican had and proof they had there, I think there would be some mass hysteria. I did want to throw this in real quick. After telling their story, George and Kathy took a lie detector test to prove their innocence. They passed.
They did.
Yep.
Why don't we talk about the Warrens?
Yeah, that's kind of the next.
Yeah.
So the Lutzes move out. They reach out to the Warrens. The Warrens agree to take on looking at the house, and so George is to meet with them and give them the key, but George wouldn't go within 3 blocks of the house, and so they had to meet at a pizza. Like some pizza joint. I can't remember the name of it. I used to have all this information. Like,
is it Comet Pizza?
Yeah, we'll go with that. So they meet there, and he gives them the keys there. And so 3 blocks away, and then they're asking him for, Ed specifically is trying to get information so he could go in and do his demonology stuff. He has to have some kind of game plan when he walks in there. And by the way, the reason I brought the Warrens up specifically when we were talking about this topic is because so many people like the Lutzes and now like all of the crazy stuff that I've brought forth with the DeFeos kind of have different opinions. And that's not something I was truly aware of until after the Conjuring universe took off as far as film goes. But people think that the Warrens are BS too. So if anybody listening, if anybody falls into that line of thought, we will discuss it with you, but I
just want to mention a name, Tony Spera.
Okay,
so I'm going to say.
Hopefully,
I guess I'm out of the loop.
I'm also out. So when
I'm out on that one too. So JC, if you're going to name drop, you got to continue on with that. Then
please, I honestly don't know.
Yeah, you got to inform us here.
What makes you think I know? There was as much as my knowledge.
You started the Tony Spera.
Tony Spera is
right?
the current.
Tony Spera, sorry.
Tony Spera is the supposed. Is he still the current owner of Annabelle?
Oh, I'm not sure, but they're touring her around.
Zach Baggin, yeah, and he brought her on a plane and stuff, and everybody's like, "Why would you bring that cursed doll on a plane?" Susie says he's the Warren's son-in-law, but he is like a paranormal investigator.
Right.
I'm going to say this about the Warrens. I 100% am on their train.
Thanks, Holly.
The things that, yes, thank you, Holly. The things that the Warrens have been involved in, some of the houses that they have, investigated, and the proof that they've shown in a few of those is mind blowing and haunting. The one house, the real well known one, I forget the name of it. It's the most well known one that they did in New England. What am I missing? The
Is that
one
the Conjuring House?
it is. Was it the Harrisville, Rhode Island home? The Perrin family, is that the one that?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah, that's it, right? In 1971, the Warrens claimed that Harrisville, Rhode Island home of the Perrin family was haunted by a witch who had lived there in the early 19th century. According to the Warrens, Bathsheba Sherman cursed the land that whosoever lived there somehow died a terrible death. The story is subject of the 2013 film The Conjuring. Lorraine Warren was a consultant to the production and a cameo role in the film. They did the Amityville house, and according to them, said a demonic presence was there. The Enfield poltergeist. I mean, you could just go on and on about the Warrens. Definitely, you want to talk about a situation where you're in places that you can bring stuff home with you. I hope that they had good ways of protecting themselves, because I would not want to bring something from the places they've been.
Well, that was kind of what they like to do. They would bring things home and put it in their basement so that everybody else would be kind of safe from it. And then, well, one of the, I guess, many reasons at this point why some people kind of call BS on them is because they financially benefited quite a lot from every one of these experiences, up to and including the museum at their house. But I can't remember how much money I believe they made off of the Conjuring situation, but there is a very good documentary on Netflix that came out in October that really gets into the Conjuring house, and it presents both sides, because the one son, like the Amityville Horror situation, still to this day is very adamant that this stuff happened, this stuff was real, and that the Warrens were helpful. But his older brother, goes off on all kinds of tangents about how the Warrens took advantage of the family.
It made it work too.
I believe they made like $300,000 off of media appearances just from working with the Conjuring house. Don't quote me on that. I'm going by memory of a documentary I watched like 6 months ago. But a similar situation here with the Amityville. In order to get to there, they meet up with George Lutz. He refuses to tell them anything. Ed repeatedly asked, what happened here, what occurred, and all George would say is, what happened. And he's like, well, we actually don't. We need information. And so I watched an interview today that I had never seen before. It's on YouTube. It's of Ed and Lorraine. So it's many years old. And they are talking about their experiences when they get into this house. So if we're of the opinion, at least for now, that they are truthful and honest about what occurred, that is a really good video for anybody to go check out, because they go kind of deep, because they're being interviewed. It's not just the two of them talking. It's a television interview, and they're kind of raked over the coals a little bit. They're kind of forced to answer some things that they on the fly had to have answers for. So it was actually a really good listen that I had found when I was doing show prep today. But Ed gets into like a lot of detail about, well, George wouldn't even talk about it. He was so terrified of it. So they go into the house and they talk about kind of the things that they had experienced there, that in the basement, there was some like hidden occult room that they found. And that I guess everybody who up to that point, because George was still alive, and I don't know what George died from, but every male who had been in that house died of a heart attack. Right after they did the consultation, Ed had a heart attack. He didn't die from it, but everybody that was involved with it all had cardiac arrest symptoms. And that's one of the things that they were kind of called out on, because the author had still like lived up to that point. He was still alive while this interview is occurring, and the guy who was talking to them, I'm sure older people would recognize him. It was just some old 70s, maybe 80s TV interview that I was able to find, so I'm not familiar with it because I was before my birth.
But just one thing, before we get too far away from the Warrens, I wanted to, the most famous picture of all is from the Warrens, right?
Yeah.
If you guys don't mind, I'm gonna put this up.
I mind heavily.
I'm not sure if it's showing right now.
It was for like a split second.
It was for a second. Hold on.
There you go.
Down below.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
There it is.
yeah. And by the way, Ryan, since it's working for you and not for me, if you can pop the Amityville house up too, that is one of the most incredible pictures. Also, JC, I wanted to say this real quick. In addition to the investigations, Lorraine ran the Warrens Occult Museum, which is now open to the public in the back of their house, Monroe, Connecticut is where it is. With the help of their son-in-law, Tony Sparrow, the museum displays haunted objects and artifacts from around the world. Many of these artifacts from their most famous investigations are featured, and the museum is currently owned by Judy Warren and Tony Sparrow.
There we go.
So I think the thing with Tony Sparrow is that he's been accused of kind of leeching off of all of this. Yeah. And then on top of that, Zach Baggins called him out in a post back in 2020, and it's very long. I'm not even going to get into it, but he calls him out on the stuff about the doll investigation and things, and some other people called him out on taking the doll on the plane and him just parading this doll around, and there's some arguments of whether the Annabelle doll is even the real doll to begin with, right? That he's parading a fake one around, etc. Anyways, I digress. Rye, go ahead and throw up your lunch there.
Yeah, Rye, if you can bring up the Amityville house too.
Give me a minute. You guys keep talking. I'll get that stuff going.
Just to let everybody know, I've never shared before, so I have to practice. So
yeah. Susie in the chat says that Tony didn't believe in the paranormal. Susie, I believe you had mentioned that there was a lot of local drama involving Tony. Can you elaborate in the chat on that? Type it up really fast. You have 30 seconds.
Starting now, Susie?
Right now.
But while we're kind of waiting on conversation, wouldn't just, I don't know, Zach Baggins, if Zach Baggins disagrees with somebody, doesn't that person automatically become right?
No, I worship
Zach Baggins doesn't like him.
Well,
Zach Baggins loves Nickelback.
And he also, let's not forget, Destination Fear, those kids that had a great show. He shut them down because they were doing so well. I have to point that out.
Zach Baggins sucks.
I was not happy about that.
I don't know
saying that Destination Fear, but
dude, he fights demons.
Exactly, things that aren't corporeal right in front of him. He'd never challenge us to a fight.
Fist fight them. Oh, why would he need to? He's the Demon King. He beat them all.
That's true. I guess that we would have to bow to him so we don't have our show removed.
Yeah, be careful. And I agree, ND Southpaw, 100%. Everybody, oh wow, he's getting torn up in the chat. Boy. Not a lot of Zach Baggins lovers.
Guys, I tagged him in this video. Please don't.
Trolling Zach Baggins is one of the greatest things that we could do.
Honestly, aside from what he did to the kids on Destination Fear, the dude has done some crazy stuff. The Demon House. Have you guys seen that video? One of the scariest videos I've ever seen in my life. That house, where was it, in Gary, Indiana, or something like that he had bought, and he had knocked it down eventually
with his fist.
Completely demon-ridden. He was in that house by himself overnight, and go ahead, Rye. Yeah, please. And you had sounds of some type of being in the house, like a growl or something. You want a scary flick, watch The Demon House.
Yeah, Tony is so bad the ZB doesn't
Hey,
even like him.
Barton Nunley's in the house and Humanoids. How you doing, Barton? Thanks for being here, brother.
Hey, Barton.
Yeah.
I'll just a shout out. I'll be on Barton's show tomorrow on the Inhumanoids. So I'll
There
be
you go.
Nice.
guest on there.
And there is
That's a beautiful house.
Yeah, so there's one picture of it, and
High
let's move
hopes.
on. Yes, this is a more recent picture, which looks very welcoming. You know, it looks quaint.
Can you go back one, Roy?
They
please?
actually-
The original photo.
They changed the windows
Yeah.
because people were trespassing all of the time. And so part of the renovations that they did on that house was to take the windows that look like eyes, and they turned them into like real rectangle windows,
Yeah.
as
That's
you
right
can
up
see
your
there
list.
in that picture.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
trying to
that's-
see if that house in the background was there in the original, which I'm assuming it is because
Oh, this
my
one
guess
here?
would be all these. My guess would be all these houses were built at the same time, around the same time.
I have another picture. I have a third picture.
Okay,
There
so
we go.
yes, they're there.
This
Yeah.
is
well.
yeah.
That's right after the.
Yeah, that's creepy right there, boy.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
trying to look at the original, like one of the older pictures.
So you can
from-
see that there is a house over here. Yeah.
Right, so like neighbors would definitely hear gunshots.
Yeah, can you imagine the mass hysteria and screaming and horrific just sounds coming from that home? Can you
Do you-
imagine?
I
Do you
hope
see
I
this
hope-
here?
Oh yeah,
that for
look at
sure.
that.
That's a little ironic.
Imagine
is.
being the neighbors of this place, though, like having no involvement in this, and then all of a sudden there's
No.
movies, documentaries, all these people showing. Like, there's about 10 feet between houses here. You know,
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
This isn't.
Yeah, because there's a house there, and then look at they have like their little praying little kids, and
Yeah,
I
they're
don't know.
Yeah, I
known.
bet.
Is that Jesus?
I can't tell from that
Jesus
photo.
Marimba.
Yeah. So that's it. That is just.
Why do they have so
after.
many antennas on the roof?
It's the
Mm.
70s, man.
Hey,
Yeah.
Needed
I
it.
Just
remember having a
antenna
giant
on top of
antenna.
antenna. You see some people there in the background.
Yeah.
The poor neighbors were just gone. I'm out of here.
Like
Anybody
Like-
hear about
like,
the
this
Holy
house.
Man?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No,
Yeah, I think we
did
mentioned
anybody-
that, didn't we?
Did you mention it? See, I was trying to get stuff.
I think Drew mentioned it, right?
Yeah. Holly, he was supposedly involved in the mob, and that's originally why Butch DeFeo had went with that. They investigated a guy, but they had his alibi checked out. He wasn't in town when the murders happened, so he was actually trying to put it off on a mafia connection with their business before he started talking about, voices and demons and stuff in his head. So that was also brought up, and unfortunately didn't seem to pan out for one reason or another, because the hitman, supposed alleged hitman, was gone, and his alibi checked out.
So here's a question that is fantastic. Like, I know you have to disclose murders, but I don't think you have to disclose that the house is haunted or not.
I
It's
think
subjective,
it's
right?
more just kind of, yeah. I would have to say just kind of, hey, just to let you know, because there is a gentleman who purchased a building a building that we might go see, and I'm not going to say what building it is, but when this gentleman purchased the building, he was not told how haunted this facility was. So apparently, you don't have to divulge exactly what's going on there. Should you? Yeah.
You have to divulge that they're squatters, but not any
By the way,
paranormal squatters.
there's
No,
a
those are my kids,
demon.
Rye. I don't
I'm
have kids, I'm
actually,
just kidding.
I'm not even sure you have to divulge if a murder occurred, to be honest.
I think
with
I think in some states you do.
I
Yeah.
think
you
you
do.
do.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know if that's like federal. I think that might be like kind of like a state thing.
It might be, but I know in some states you do.
But
Wow.
What if you don't know about the murder?
Yeah, but that's kind of it.
But then that means then it goes back to the people who sold you the house. It can always.
Well, what if the realtor's the murderer and he doesn't want to tell anybody because then now he's giving himself up?
That's crazy. Now this is the thing: is
are sellers required to disclose a death that occurred on the property? Is the seller required? In Ohio, there is no statutory provision that mandates disclosure of such an event.
Ohio for the win.
Wow. And Jesse is saying Wisconsin real estate license law only requires brokers to disclose a haunting if it has an effect on the physical condition of the property. Wow. And
think about how many people, most people die in their
don't
houses.
Have to disclose anything, especially if it's haunted. Yeah.
Especially. It actually says if you have ghosts, shut up.
Yeah. There's a special clause for that.
Yeah.
Now this is the thing is so that house is infamous. Okay. So in the beginning, the price is going to plummet, right? No one wants to buy that house. But after it's going to become infamous, and it's going to increase in value, which is crazy. It's kind of like cars. Cars always drop in price till they hit an antique kind of persona, and then they raise in value. But that's now the houses surrounding the Amityville house. I'm going to guess that they're all depreciated. They're not exactly what you can get for that because of the location, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I would have no idea. That's something that's a really good point that's worth looking into. I think that, for me, if I'm trying to sell the house next to the Amityville house, that's what I'm using to sell it. Hey, check this out. Look, we have this wonderful view from your window. You can see right here where all of this stuff occurred from a safe distance, 10 feet away from all the craziness. You get to sit and have this, beautiful attraction, and they're the ones who are going to be bombarded with tourists, not you.
Yeah, but they're going to be there,
right? I'm sure everyone on Ocean Avenue are annoyed by the people like me who would go and try to get a picture in front of it. Like a selfie.
Just a bunch of Drews, right? Yeah.
Turn the houses into Airbnbs, and
that's a great idea now.
Yeah.
But yeah, for a long time, that house was kind of plagued by that. And that's why they did the remodel on the back, which is such an unfortunate thing because historically speaking, that those windows, it's so iconic that it's almost like you're deleting history. And so much of what I've come to realize a lot of people really cherish with the paranormal community, especially those who investigate hauntings and stuff, is the historical appreciation that these people have for the sites. So it's really unfortunate that the house had gone through so much after the film and the book came out, because it's completely been erased essentially.
And like Holly said, even if it's not haunted, you will never get peace in that house or the neighborhood. It's going to be always this attraction. And that's there is that attraction for any houses that are featured in any TV shows, not just hauntings or anything, but any houses that are featured in TV shows or anything, that it is like a complete nuisance. You're just oh my gosh, because I forget which one it is. Might have been the Breaking Bad house, and people come by all the time and throw pizza on the roof. Yes. Yeah. It's
the people that own that, actually the Breaking Bad house, they chained off the front of the house up to the sidewalk, and people will come and try and climb over the chains and then get trespassed. And there's videos of people screaming and crying this is public property. Dude, that's somebody's house. It's not public property. Just because it was in a TV show, it's not public property.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, you know what? I wanted to throw something out there real quick, and I apologize, Ryan. Before people start leaving, because, we got about 15 minutes left.
Yeah.
Just a mindset to throw into the people that are in the chat. If you guys could think about what you would like a subject for us to tackle next week, I would like you guys to start throwing stuff out there for us. So let us know. The one that gets the most, comments for people to say, yes, let's jump on. That's what we'll do next week.
Okay, cool. I know. Cool. Andrew and I had an idea, but We
That
are
idea-
A-okay.
That idea works on any day of the week, any
Yeah.
episode. Like we'll
I agreed. I think it's great that we, let's see what our viewers who make up, half the show. Let's see what you guys
And I
come up
apologize.
with.
I didn't know you guys were talking about that. So
We're talking
I
behind your back.
no.
Matt, we're talking behind your back.
mean,
Yeah, makes sense.
do whatever you like.
So Numa says shapeshifter. Susie said Sky Beast, which is close near to my
Sky
heart.
Beast is
she's
cool.
just
Drew
sucking up to JC.
Drew never wants to talk about Sky Beasts. I don't know. He's like
Thank
scared
you,
of them.
Andy Southpaw. So sweet.
Ooh, Skinwalker Ranch, or what is that? Sorry, Flesh
Skane-
Pedestrian.
Skinwalker Ranch.
Yeah, Flesh Pedestrian Ranch.
Well, we know what they mean.
Yeah,
Skinwalker Ranch.
of course. Sky Beast is actually really interesting. There's a lot of theories on that, and I'm interested in it, especially with the UFO that I saw. I don't know how to describe it. It was. I don't want to say it's a sky beast, but it wasn't like a UFO. It was like a plasma cloud thing.
Just
Yeah.
another person's asking Sky Beasts. Sky Beasts are sort of like carbonic creatures that live in the atmosphere.
Mhm.
So a lot of like the natural UFO theories come from that, where UFOs aren't from another world, but they're actually from this planet, and they're actually animals, and they're not people inside of spaceships. Jellyfish UFO, yeah.
Kind of along those lines, if anybody is interested in that, you should look into Nick Hayes, who we had on
Yes.
a couple of months ago, who has many photographs of these things based off of a method of photography that he learned from an author, and it's pretty deep. Like it's
very deep,
very
scientific and deep.
I can't even sit here and kind of like recollect everything because of that, just how you just got to be smart, and you have to just go check his stuff out, and you'll spend hours on it. But I'm not opposed to it. Everybody's dunking on me like I'm stopping the Sky Beast. That's just something
You
that
are,
JC
Andrew.
says.
You are.
There's only two people that dunked on you. It was me and Susie.
You know what?
Yeah,
Have you guys noticed there have been really, really incredible videos lately of some, pretty believable UAPs or UFOs. Have you guys seen some of the more recent videos lately? There have been some really decent, very believable ones. Did you guys ever watch the Impossible channel? He's got.
I've seen the Pixar movie, The Impossibles.
No, it's this one guy. He has all these different videos on YouTube, and he has. I think he has a million or more subscribers. His logo, he has kind of like a guy in a like tropical shirt with a beard. It's like called the Impossible Channel or something, and he has great videos. He's had some really, and I'm being honest, some really incredible UFO videos that are pretty believable. I'll send you guys links for it so you can look at it.
Well, I can see we're getting a lot of Sky Beasts and stuff like that. So why don't it seems? Well, I'm not going to make that decision. Why doesn't that be? That looks like going to be the front runner. So maybe Sky Beast with the side of UFOs.
That sounds good to me. That's what we'll do, everybody.
I think we can blend the two subjects together, because there's a lot of people with hypotheses
exactly,
and say that UFOs are Sky Beasts.
And if you're interested, I have an abductee who would love to come on. We might work with this one. I don't know. We'll talk about that. So, but let's see. Let's see what gets the most votes. Let's see what gets maybe you know what. This is it, everyone. Matt's gonna, because you can do polls on your YouTube channel.
Can
right?
do polls, yes.
Yeah. Why don't you set up a poll for our Supernatural Town Hall session and say this is what we have, and we'll kind of pick out what we have that's been suggested, and maybe just a couple other, filler, and see what comes out on top. Yeah, for sure.
What you two were talking about behind my back about, and
it's behind my back too. So.
Time travel, Nikola Tesla, time travel, and Charlie Chaplin.
We were talking about barbecue, but they were talking about other things. That's all right. Nothing like a knife in the back.
Well, it's so I think this would be maybe dear to your heart, though, Matt. It's about Nikola Tesla, time travel, Charlie Chaplin. So that includes portals. Yes.
Yeah.
This is just Drew's
Drew's
baby over
sitting up
here.
in his chair for sure.
Well, I was more into the time travel kind of thing, and I know Drew was kind of like Nikola Tesla, Charlie Chaplin. So we could throw out that in the poll as well, for sure.
I will. I will make a poll. I will throw it up, and we will see how that works for the next week. And when we get, I don't know, halfway next week, we'll decide, and
Yep.
we'll throw it up there on the thumbnail. So thank you very much, everybody. Ryan,
Okay,
thanks for that.
I need to bring this up though. So next week I do have a interview. I can probably make it. Yeah, no. If we're doing it at the same time, or no, hang on. Sorry, it's March. No, I can make it. I
Okay.
believe I can make that next week. I have an interview with a gentleman who has got some crazy experiences. So, I think that's us. So thanks everyone for tuning in. If you want to check out my channel here, it's Codega's Codex of Curiosities. I'm on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. Go ahead.
JC?
Yeah, absolutely. Check it out. Check Rye's stuff out. He's doing killer stuff.
He is.
Report
He's
it.
doing a great job, and so are these two gentlemen. You guys want to shoot your
And so
channel
is this
on
guy,
you?
and this guy, and this guy.
We're just all awesome.
I guess.
You guys
Yeah,
want to throw your
Yeah, make sure you guys
Yeah,
check
yeah,
out.
yeah.
I'll do that advertising. Make sure you guys check out Sasquatchers. These two below, they don't like to
It's
promote
in the
their stuff.
chat.
So
It's in the
yeah,
chat.
it's in the
I put
chat.
shameless plug grift in the chat. Make sure you watch Rise stuff and report it. Check out Matt's stuff because it's
Yeah,
really
and if
good.
you haven't liked this video, please like this video. Matt's putting this out. It is fantastic. If you haven't subscribed to 412, which I'm sure you have, because
You know,
otherwise you're bad.
I just found out tonight that my one account wasn't subscribed or wasn't part of his
Oh my
group
gosh.
on
Oh
Facebook.
my
I was like,
gosh.
how,
That's it.
how is that
That's
even
it.
a thing?
Kick him out, Matt.
Yeah.
Like I'm not should be allowed to be here.
You
We
know
need
what?
somebody else for the town hall.
I'll let it
Yeah.
slide. I'll let it slide. I want to thank everybody for being here tonight, and thank you for you guys. Go ahead, Rye.
I got one last thing. So I am still, and I might have mentioned this last week. I'm putting together a documentary on glitches in the Matrix. So if any of you that are viewing this, listening to this, have had glitches in the Matrix, please contact me. Reach out to me, whether it be on Facebook or YouTube. Even in my comments to one of my videos, just say, "Hey, I've had this experience," and then we'll get in contact, because what I'm trying to do is collect everybody's experiences, but I want you to narrate your own experience. That's really my goal of this one, is to get people to narrate their own experiences. And then I'm going to interview, I don't want to say experts, because there's no really experts, but I'm going to interview people who have some great opinions and have done a lot of work in this field, and talk about this.
Thank you, and thank you, the three of you, honestly, for being here. This is a
I love
special
it.
night.
I look
for me.
forward to it.
I do too. I do
The
too.
town
I
halls
wanna
have.
thank- Go ahead, Andrew.
I was just gonna say the town halls have quickly become one of my favorite things during the week. It's
love it.
just
Yeah.
as important to me to be here as it is to be working on Sasquatchers.
Yeah.
And I feel the same. And seeing your guys' faces, makes me get all happy inside. So yes, JC, you guys are good people, and everybody that was here tonight, thank you so much for
Yes, thank you,
being
everybody
here.
in the
And
chat.
I know the other day we're posting about our dogs.
Oh,
So this is
Where are
Cody,
my
short
dogs?
for Codex. He's been sleeping underneath
Aw.
my on my chair. I got to take him
Like,
out here
dude,
right now.
what's up, man? I was sleeping. Look
Yeah,
at his face.
Yeah,
What is
it's so
what's up?
cruel.
I know.
telling
I
you.
know. I got to take him out for a walk. So
The one dog that was quiet and you woke him up.
Yeah, exactly. He's pretty quiet. Yes.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. Thank you, and thanks for the comments, everybody. Catherine
Yes.
Gay, Holly Mangum, Larry Fisher, thank you for moderating again. Stacy, my wife, thank you for being here, and thank you for the comment on that. And I definitely will be making a deal of that when we get there, hopefully soon. This Saturday, I'm going to have another live stream. We're going to have David Wolf of Exposing the Strange. So hopefully you guys can come and check us out. More stuff to come, and from all of us. So please, like everybody's channel, subscribe, and we thank you guys for being here. Thank you, everybody. Love you.
Thank you, everybody. Love you. Take
Have a
care.
good night.
See you guys.
Thanks so much for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe, as it greatly helps out the channel. I'll see you next time on Planet 412.